Hi everybody. Today I'm doing a build showcase for my physical throwing damage Bladedancer. I'm not going to call this a build guide because I'm not sure if things are optimal enough to really call it a full guide. My resistances aren't fully capped. I'm sure my defenses can be better and my health's pretty low, but I haven't seen anything online for this archetype, so I wanted to decide to show mine off. So the main single target is shurikens, and here's the tree for it. The most important node is deadly aim, and then we grab fan of blades and flip a coin to help increase our target, our shurikens, which will help us our single target, because deadly aim cuts our shurikens in half. Another big thing I grab is abrasive arsenal. I found I only need 1 point in it in order to get the full max 10 stacks of physical shred on an enemy. For AoE, we're doing a combo of synchronized strike and shadow cascade. So shadow cascade's a little slow, and synchronized strike is normally melee damage, but the amount of blades created by shadow cascade and synchronized strike together is really good for blowing up packs of monsters. So the main node I'm taking is Dagger Dance. So Shadow Cascade can actually deal throwing damage, which is what we're scaling. So that's a super fortunate node. And then for mana management, grabbing Fight the Shadows and Onslaught is really important for helping us maintain our mana. So those are the main nodes I'd grab. I'm not taking Hurricane of Blades, even though it makes the build a little smoother, because we're taking because of some nodes in Dash that we'll go over in a bit. For Synchronized Strike, the more important nodes we're grabbing are Dark Allies and Foreshadowing. Dark Allies will give us 2 extra shadows. And foreshadowing is our shadows are dealing the damage with the blades. So there's going to be our biggest damage scaling with that. And it's just to have us create enough shadows to throw enough blades. For dash, I'm taking nodes that increase our next damage, a non-channeling ability, because when we dash, we'll be doing dancing shadows, so throw a shadow cascade, which is the important one you want to take here. And then there's just some mana efficiency to also help with our mana regen. Using Synchronized Strike and Dash with those nodes will take us almost all the way back to full. And it's how we maintain mana in packs. Another important node for Dash is Lasting Presence, which you grab on the way to Dancing Shadow. That'll give you the max number of shadows. Just doing the basic movement combo, which makes this build so smooth. I'm using Smoke Bomb to augment my damage, getting more shadows in the Smoke Bomb, more throwing attack damage, larger area. It's basically a steroid that summons shadows that helps with both single target and AoE, as well as some defensive buffs while in the shadows as well. So next I'll go over my passive skills. Nothing too big other than Twin Blade, which we need for, I believe, for Shadow Cascade we need to be dual wielding, so Twin Blade's very important. Where I'm building crit, so critical precision is very important too. But nothing too crazy, so attack speed and dexterity and health. Marksman, I'm grabbing the dexterity nodes, as well as the increased throwing damage. In Bladedancer, I'm going glancing blows, so I'm taking all the nodes up here I can. There's some damage nodes here. The rest of my points are going to be done just at once, just for more raw damage. Same thing here, increased dual wielding. More crit chance, and we're stacking armor shred because shurikens will hit the same target multiple times in rapid succession, so armor shred's really good. and then some shadow damage and additional shadows. Next, I'll be doing a map and a Corruption 100 just to show off the build. Alright. So the AoE with Cascade and Shadow Cascade and Secret Knight Strike is our main combo. Our shurikens are for single target. They take a little bit of ramp up, so they're a little funny to use in AoE situations. Or even just mapping unless the target is super tanky. Because they build those stacks with armor shred. Yeah, as long as you have the damage, the mapping is really smooth. Because you're always, all your skills are just making you move forward. You mainly want to be using dash to cast Shadow Cascade because it's you're not locked in place, and it gives you an additional shadow as well. There's also a lot of health regeneration from Secret Knight Strike. We take a passive that gives us health on shadow generation, and we're making so many shadows at once, it's almost a full heal. I very rarely need to use it in boss heal in boss use a potion in boss encounters with it. So yeah, it has pretty good single target with the shurikens, and the AoE clear speed is pretty smooth. I'll show one more map. Here's the second map. Hopefully the density is a little better. This build excels with density too. There's a passive with Shadow Cascade. Whenever we kill an enemy with a Shadow Cascade, there's a chance to lose a shadow. So we just stack shadows on shadows on shadows. So this build almost has an inverse difficulty, where the more mob density there is, the more damage you're going to do. And because you're so relatively fluid, with using Shadow Cascade for movement constantly. Well, at least in AoE. At least with AoE using Shadow Cascade, Secret Knight Strike and Dash to always be just pushing forward. There was more of a problem last patch, but there is a bug sometimes where you'll get stuck after Shadow Cascading. And you'll stop movement. So this currently is definitely not viable for hardcore because sometimes the game will just bug out and trap you. I'm assuming because they patched it last one, they're still aware that there's some issues. So I'm hoping that'll get fixed soon. Okay, so yeah, pretty decent single target and AoE clear. Next, I'll go over my current gear. So this is my current gear. I have no idea if any of it's optimal, but it's just what I have so far. Most of my idols are used for resistances. I'm trying to have an extra spot to fill. So there's nothing too crazy I'm grabbing here, but the damage is helpful. But I've mainly found I need the extra space for resistances, so that's what I've been focusing on. I have dexterity and chance to shred on chests. I'm currently using a thorn slinger. This build was a bleed build, but I found the AoE wasn't up where I wanted it to be, and the single target seemed a little overkill in most situations. I don't have a second character level, so I wanted to kind of make a more balanced build, so I changed just physical throwing damage. I don't know if this is the best in slot, where I felt like it was for bleed, but the +1 to physical skills is definitely helpful, and we get use out of movement speed and throwing attack speed as well. I'm using Laraka's Claws for the 2 extra shurikens, which only translates to 1 extra shuriken, but it's definitely a noticeable damage increase. Same thing, I don't know if this is actually best in slot, but it works with what I have right now. My daggers are Warrior's Obsidian. They're really the only base type that gives us any, between swords and daggers, that gives us any stats we want. So I decided to go with them. Rings would ideally probably be some movement speeds or dodge rating rings, but I just have ones that give me stats for right now. I would prefer a amulet that was a resistance-based amulet, maybe the Necrotic Fizz one, but this is just the stats I have that rolled well, so that's what I'm using. A shred. So we're stacking shred, health, throwing attack speed. Yep, so nothing too crazy. I don't think anything super crazy. I definitely want to squeeze some more health out of the build, but I'm happy with what it's at right now. So, thanks for watching, and I hope I could help point anyone in a better direction for a build they wanted to try. Have a good one, everyone.